Chris. How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Stop.
Let's try to borrow some weights. The boys
Weights.
outside do a workout.
Come over here, Alex. Now, what do you need weights for?
We're doing a workout on the field. Help out agility.
For what?
quickness.
For what?
For football.
For football.
Yes.
What's football?
Football. You don't know what football is?
Is that some sort of
Greatest
sport?
sport in America.
Greatest sport in America is wrestling. What we do here in this room.
Well, why do you like wrestling? What's so good about wrestling?
Wrestling has many advantages. Wrestling prepares you for the outside world, for the real world.
Yes.
Wrestling prepares you for other sports like football.
Yeah, well, football can prepare you for wrestling. You don't think so?
Kind of disagree.
Why is that?
Well, let's take a seat here. These boxes. See, wrestling is a sport that you play. You're always on your feet. You're always moving. Okay. It's all about body motion. It's all about that kind of stuff. And if you're always on your feet and you're always learning how to take people down, obviously you're learning how to tackle people.
Well, I think in football, when you're learning how to tackle people and...
Yeah, that makes sense. I know what you're saying. You learn how to tackle people, you learn how to take people down. But in wrestling, you don't just tackle people to take them down. If you go at somebody and you try to tackle them, you're most likely going to get thrown. You're going to get thrown hard. And it's going to hurt your neck.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt your neck, specifically right here behind your right ear, depending on which side you try and tackle on, and your ear could blow up.
What happens in football when you're running full out at someone, you got your neck down?
Well, here's
Two
the
guys
thing.
going
Here's
at
the
each
thing.
other.
Here's the thing. In
Full
wrestling, like I said, you can't just tackle people. You have to set up a technique, you have to set up your series, and then you have to actually shoot on them, and you have to find a way to take them down. In football, there's only one way that most people know how to take people down, and it's just by tackling them. In wrestling, I know how to tackle people because I know many ways to tackle people. I know many ways to take people down, whether it's grab a leg, body motion, tipping towards them, anything. It's different.
Well, you play football, right? You know.
Oh, yeah.
You don't think that football has helped you at all with your wrestling career?
I like football. I may like football a lot more than wrestling, but wrestling is definitely kind of like an art. Wrestling is a little more intense because it's just you. It's just you on the mat. It's nobody else. If you lose, it's only your fault. If you mess up, it's your fault, nobody else's. Possibly the refs, depending on how angry you are after your loss. But the thing is, wrestling is definitely a much more nerve-wracking sport.
Yeah.
Say one person messes up on the football field, probably not going to be you considering there's 22 other people on the field. Okay? If you mess up on the wrestling mat, or somebody messes up on the wrestling mat, it's a 50-50 chance it's either you or the guy you're wrestling. And I'll tell you what, losing a wrestling match is the worst feeling in the world because you feel like you've just been bested by another man or a giant woman, depending on what way you wrestle.
See, I think losing a football game is just terrible.
Losing football games are terrible.
You know, you're with a team.
Both sports.
You worked so hard with that team, and when you lose, it's just like you've let down your teammates, all your coaches. It's just.
Well, here's the thing. Obviously, both sports require tons of preparation.
Yeah.
Tons of preparation. Nowadays, I feel like sports are. You can't play 3 sports and be successful at them unless you're just insane. You're just an insane athlete.
Yeah.
If you're just an average person, you pick one or you pick 2 sports. And wrestling is a sport where if you want to be successful and you want to wrestle in college, you have to wrestle year-round. You have to do spring wrestling, you have to do summer wrestling, winter wrestling. You have to do fall wrestling. You have to do all that. You have to constantly wrestle because you have to find your technique. And to find your technique, it takes years. I started wrestling in 2nd grade, and I just found my technique last year as a junior. Okay, I got smashed my freshman and sophomore year because I had no idea what I was doing, even though I've been wrestling 9 years prior to that moment.
Yeah.
Okay, and the thing is, football, if you're big and you're strong, running into people is not too hard. Running into people is not too hard.
I agree.
And it doesn't really take much technique, but it does take a lot of preparation to get your body ready for that, especially when you get older, because See, the thing is, when you get older, people get bigger, and then they start. It's not so much technique. It's not close to wrestling technique.
Yeah.
But you still have to know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
But yeah. I mean, if you
I mean, I think wrestling's a great sport. Yeah. I mean, I've never really played it, so I can't say much about it.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I understand. What other sports do you play?
well, I played lacrosse. I ran track.
Track. That track's a lot like wrestling.
You think so?
Yeah, because track prepares you for football, just like wrestling
Yeah.
prepares you for football. You know what I'm saying? I've never ran track, but I'd imagine that
And it
helps
doesn't
you with
really
speed.
take a lot of technique. I mean, there's like a couple techniques you can learn for track, but
Yeah, I mean, I've worked on my speed before. I've definitely done some training with form and running and whatnot,
Yeah.
keeping your arms locked and
For
relaxing
wrestling,
your
yeah.
shoulders and your jaw, letting your face jiggle when you run. There's definitely technique to it,
Yeah.
and it definitely applies to the football field too. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Well, lacrosse, when I played lacrosse, was a lot like football because, you know,
Well, yeah, you
team
play on the
sport,
field, don't you? Play on
team
the field.
sport, teams got to be like together to be good. You know, it's just a physical sport, just like football. So
Yeah. And one thing I left out, wrestling is as much of a team sport as it is an individual sport.
really,
If I didn't mention that, because in a like a team match, you can one wrestler can only score 6 points. That's as many points as you can score. If you win by 4, you get 3 or 4 points for your team. If you win by 8, that's a major, and you get I think 4 or 5 points. And if you win by a technical fall, you win by 15 points. That's 5. But if you pin the guy, you get 6. So you can no matter how good of a wrestler you are, or no matter how awful the wrestler that you're competing against is, the maximum amount of points you can get is 6. So it's pretty much a team sport too. It's more of a
like
team
when you're
sport.
going into a tournament or a meet, are you more focused on yourself or are you focused on your team?
Well, by focusing on yourself, you're definitely helping your team.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
it's honestly so nerve-wracking. You have to do things like count back from. What I do sometimes is you can't. Your mind is just everywhere before a match. You're just like you're kind of freaking out, like you want to puke because you don't know what else to do. You're so nervous. There's nothing else to do but puke because everybody's watching you. You're about to go out there and you're either gonna win or you're gonna lose.
You've actually puked before? a
Yeah,
wrestling
I've puked
match?
before a wrestling match. Yeah, and so what I do sometimes is I count back from 1,000.
Yeah.
I count back from 1,000, or I try and keep my mind completely blank. Because when my mind is completely blank and then I go jump right into something, I feel like I'm pretty successful when I do that. I know a lot of people are not, and that almost sounds
Yeah.
crazy, but to me, I feel like I'm successful in doing that because I know that I'm a good wrestler, and I know that I can handle a lot because I've seen a lot.
Yeah, before a football game, I like to picture myself being successful, doing things right, and just being confident, and that
Yeah.
usually tends to work out the best.
Do you ever listen to music before your games?
Yeah.
You listen to music? See, I listened to music my sophomore year. I didn't listen to it too much. I usually listen to the same 3 or 4 songs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You listen to the same kind of 3 or 4
Yeah,
songs.
same people pretty much. Just
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
songs.
Sometimes they get me pumped up. Other times they'd just be like something to take your mind away.
Yeah.
But the difference for me between wrestling and football is there's so many things that you have to remember in playing football, like
Oh,
the
yeah,
plays and everything.
plays,
You really do need to think about it
coverages.
before your game. And the fact that you're not as nervous helps with that.
Yeah.
The fact that you have to think about all your plays and all your what you have to do, like your responsibilities. You definitely have to think about it before games. And I feel like music just kind of takes away from that, and that kind of scares me when it takes you away from preparing for a game.
Puts you in another zone, kind of.
It does. It puts you in another zone. You're almost thinking about the music and the music
Yeah.
going.
It also can get you going, though. You know, get your blood going.
It definitely does. It gets you excited. I like to listen to music while we're warming up outside.
Yeah.
And I know for the playoffs it's illegal to listen to music while you're warming up. I have no idea why. I honestly don't. It doesn't make sense because I've listened to music during the playoffs, and we never got penalized for it.
That's weird.
But you see what I'm saying when I say wrestling? Wrestling definitely prepares you for football.
Yeah, I understand that.
And-
But I think there's things in life that wrestling can prepare you for that football won't.
Yeah,
And there's things that football will prepare you for that wrestling won't.
yeah, it's true. No, yeah, there are definitely differences between the two sports because they're obviously two different sports.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, bingo.